Have you ever noticed this about yourself? Na you genuinely want to help, you care about people, you want your team, your clients, your family to be okay. So you step in, you support, you adjust, you give more. And for a while, it feels right. But over time, you start feeling tired, sometimes even unappreciated. And maybe you don't say it out loud, pero may konting bigat na sa loob. If you've ever felt that, this episode is for you. Because today, we're going to talk about servant leadership and the fine line between serving and slowly losing yourself. Most of us were taught that when life gets harder, the answer is to think harder. But many of the biggest breakthroughs in my life didn't come from thinking more. They came from understanding the mind and learning how to quiet it. If you're a business owner, leader, or professional dealing with stress, uncertainty, and the challenges that come with growth, you're in the right place. In this podcast, I share realizations about life, work, and the mind, and how quieting the mind helps us think more clearly, make better decisions, and take focused, effective action. Welcome to Realizations with Clarissa. Servant leadership is something many of us grew up with, especially in Filipino culture. Kasi we're taught to be respectful, to help, to give, to prioritize others. And these are beautiful values. They create strong relationships. They build trust. They make people feel supported. That's why many Filipino leaders are naturally caring, generous, and committed. But here's what I've noticed. Now, sometimes what looks like servant leadership on the outside is already coming from a different place on the inside. Because if we slow down and really listen, sometimes the thoughts sound like this, na, I don't want to disappoint them. Ako na lang para matapos na to. It's okay, kaya ko pa naman. What if they think I'm not helpful? What if they get upset? Does any of that sound familiar? And without even realizing it, you keep saying yes, you keep giving more, you keep stepping in even when you're already tired. This is where it becomes important to see the difference. There are two very different sources of serving. One comes from genuine care, strength, and choice. And the other comes from pressure, fear, guilt, and the need to be liked. And on the surface, they look the same. Both are helpful, both are generous, both are giving. But the internal experience is very different. When your serving comes from a healthy place, you give and still feel okay. You can say yes and it still feels light. You can also say no without guilt. But when it starts coming from that inner pressure, that's when things change. You give but you feel drained. You say yes but you feel heavy kasi you want to say no. You help but you start feeling unseen. There's a pattern that shows up a lot here. It's the tendency to prioritize other people's needs at the expense of your own. Not because you're weak, but because part of you believes na if I keep people happy, things will be okay. If I don't upset anyone, I will be accepted. If I give more, I will be valued. And again, this doesn't come from a bad place. It often comes from your strength kasi you're empathetic, you're thoughtful, you care deeply. But when that strength is overused, it turns into self-neglect. And this is where servant leadership quietly becomes self-sacrifice. You start overcommitting. You take on more than you should. You delay your own priorities. Your energy gets drained. Your time gets stretched and your focus gets scattered. And over time, instead of feeling fulfilled, you start feeling exhausted. Instead of feeling connected, you start feeling na obligado ka parate. And sometimes may konting resentment na. Not because you don't care, but because you've been giving without enough space to take care of yourself. So here's the shift that changed a lot for me. Serving others does not mean abandoning yourself. You can care without overextending. You can support without taking over their responsibilities. You can give without draining yourself. And most importantly, you can say no and still be a good leader. Healthy servant leadership looks like this, na you help, but you also set boundaries. You support, but you don't carry everything for everyone. You listen, but you don't lose your voice. You give, but from a full place, not from an empty cup. Because real leadership is not about how much you sacrifice. It's about how well you can show up consistently with energy, with presence, and clear thinking. So here's a simple reflection you can bring into your day. Na before you say yes, pause ka muna and ask yourself, am I choosing this? Or am I afraid of what will happen if I say no? And that one question alone can help you see the difference. You don't have to stop being caring. You don't have to stop helping. Those are part of your strength. But the goal is not just to serve others. The goal is to lead in a way where you are also supported. Because when you take care of your energy, you think better, you lead better, you decide better, and your impact becomes more sustainable. If you've been noticing these patterns in yourself, saying yes when you want to say no, or feeling drained even though you care, or overthinking your decisions, that's exactly what we train inside the 7-day mental fitness challenge. Mental fitness is the most effective foundation for clear thinking, resilience, and sustainable high performance. Because when your mind becomes stronger and less reactive, you make wiser decisions, you take focused action, and create better results with less stress. So you can keep showing up without burning out, especially as a leader. If you are ready to experience that shift, you can start anytime. The link is in the description. Kung nakaka-relate ka sa episode na to, follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And if you know someone who might find this helpful, feel free to share it with them. And thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next episode of Realizations with Clarissa. And keep building your mental fitness. Because a stronger mind helps us live better and work better.